Welcome back to another episode of Thinking That Matters. I'm Elizabeth Mahusai, your podcast host, and I am here today with my longtime friend through networking is where it started, Mr. Steve Stump. And Steve also serves as mine and Fred, our family's insurance agent. So obviously we have a very long-standing relationship with you. We are so grateful for you. You have been such an integral part of making sure that we have what we need as entrepreneurs and business owners. So tell my audience a little bit about you, who you are, your background, and we will launch in.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. First, thanks for having me. This is fantastic to be on your podcast and kind of share a little bit more about myself with your audience. So, yeah, my name is Steve. I am a dad, first and foremost. My daughter is just the focus of my life, and now she's an adult, so I'm going through that change, and there's a little bit of loss there, but it's going to be great to see her go into young adulthood as a woman. I am an insurance agent helping individuals with their home, auto, health, and life insurance. I know we're going to talk a lot about health insurance today, given the time of the year. And I guess my passions, they center around enjoying nature. I love going to the beach.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I love this. If I could find a way to run my business in a secluded beach town with hardly any customers, I'd figure it out.
You'd figure it out.
And then the opposite of that, if I could be at the beach but also be close to the mountains where I could get on my motorcycle and go rock climbing, that would be the ideal place to live. So those are my big three things I love.
Okay, yeah, I'm imagining that to be a little difficult between the beach and the mountains, or at least there's a lot of driving in between to make that happen.
Maybe the only place I can do that.
You know, that's actually an excellent point, because Fred and I went to Maui back in June, and whoa, like it is.
The elevation is quite something.
It was breathtaking. So that passion about nature, Fred and I enjoy the beach as well. That's usually our preferred getaway for the two of us. What got you into the insurance space?
So I was in a corporate career for a number of years in middle management, and I was with a company. If I put out the name, y'all would know who it is, but I'll save the name.
Right.
But our business unit grew like 1% to 2% a year. As many customers that we would gain would either exit the field or die. So it just wasn't a growing segment of the market. So in middle management, every year we were going through layoffs. And being a middle manager, you were going through that stack ranking that they go through and decide who's going to be below the line and above the line. It was a very stressful and difficult time. Finally came to a point where I just said I couldn't do it anymore and stepped out and talked with a franchise consultant and started a franchise business. I remember going through the due diligence, and he asked me, well, what are you going to do about health insurance? I was like, well, I don't know. I guess you just buy it, don't you? That was the furthest thing from my mind because I got it from my employer for years. And this was late 2000s, so insurance back then, employment insurance was even better than it is now. So I guess you just buy it, right? Well, the sticker shock was we were paying, so we went forward with that. I left a corporate career, started a business, and immediately had to replace health insurance for my family. And the sticker shock was, I want to say it was $1,300 to $1,400 in premium a month, and had to be like $16,000 to $18,000 in deductibles.
Wow.
And this was just as the marketplace as we know it today, a little bit different back then, but it was just coming together, the Obamacare and ACA marketplace. Well, I didn't know any better, so we just bit the bullet. We were successful in our business, so we made it work. But that was a real sticker shock to me. So fast forward, I exited that business through an acquisition, and I kept looking back at that experience. In addition to having my own health insurance through the marketplace, I had my home and my cars insured. I had my business insured with another agent. I was like, doesn't anyone just do all this in one place? I had multiple people I'd have to go to for all my insurance needs. Really started looking at getting into insurance and understanding that space more. And I started in health insurance just with that experience I had. And I came to learn that there were plans that don't participate in the government marketplace, ACA available plans, and they tend to insure a healthy group of individuals, which I've always been a focused, healthy individual focused on my health and wellness. And I realized that this can serve a large majority of the population, but people don't know about it.
Yeah.
Because the government puts the focus on the ACA plans, and then if you're not getting it from the government, you're probably getting it from your employer.
Right.
So people don't even think about anything outside of that. So that's how I got started in it and started to realize that if I can focus on a healthy group of individuals, I can help them find more affordable health insurance going forward.
Yeah, and that's of course we had been networking together even when you had the franchise, and saw you work through building that and then transitioning into the health insurance space, and because Fred and I have been entrepreneurs for 25 years now, so we haven't had employer insurance for a couple of decades, more than that, and so we always had been outside of what ultimately became Obamacare, ACA plans, right? But you helped us take the next step because we had been on a sharing. Right. What are they called?
Just sharing plans.
Sharing plans, and so you helped us to transition from a sharing plan to the one that we're on, the one that we're on right now. Now you also then added, beyond health insurance, you then became licensed to do home, auto, all of the other. What made you want to, is it more that you just wanted to be able to be a one-stop shop, or tell me about that? Yeah,
I wanted to be a one-stop shop, but after 2 years, I had referral connections. So I had a lot of agents that I would refer out for home and auto and business.
You start thinking, I could keep that for myself.
And I could finally achieve
Spoken like an entrepreneur.
Never say no, right? Well, it's interesting. So in health and life insurance, you can go to any company and get appointed. It's just a formality paperwork. Right. Well, for home and auto, that's not the case.
Correct.
You have to have an affiliation with an agency, and then the agency has to have basically proof that they can build the business. So that was a little chicken and the egg problem. I didn't want to be an employee, but I wanted to be independent and have the access that an independent broker would have. Fortunately, I've networked for a number of years and just had an individual introduce me to the right individual. He's an owner of an agency in Arlington, Texas. And his model was he wants contract agents, not employees, that he will give them access to his book, or to his access to his carriers.
Carriers, okay.
And then I also have access to his support staff. So for all the service needs, all the renewal needs, I have access to his entire staff. So that allows me to now just be a producing agent underneath him. And it's worked out really, really well. And he and I have even formed that relationship even tighter with the health insurance. I've brought all of my health insurance business underneath his agency. And that's allowed us to now kind of mine his book and sell the health insurance business through his book. And his agency is Texas Edge Insurance Agency. And while I go by Insure Me Steve, and that's my brand, underneath all of that is a pretty large agency called Texas Edge.
That's cool. Well, and also too, it's been fun to watch you build your own brand. So most people, unless you're having a one-to-one conversation with them, would not even really think much about Texas Edge. Right. Obviously important, but you've done a great job of marketing your own self where that is concerned. So you expanded that. Now, you went from being in a corporate career, salaried, owning a franchise, moving to health insurance, and then expanding the insurance offerings that you have. I have to imagine in the midst of this journey, you've likely faced some limiting beliefs or things that have challenged your thinking. Tell us about some of those and what you have found has helped you overcome them.
Right. So I probably have more limiting beliefs than I know and could probably count, just like everyone. But here's what I've realized is nothing can hurt you as badly as the mind will make you think it can.
Ooh, say that again.
Nothing will hurt you as badly as the mind will make you think you can. And so I'm a study of history and our evolutionary past as humans. And when we weren't in these nice offices and homes, we were living in caves and huts. And everything out there wanted to eat us. So our mind preserved us in this fight or flight response, right? And when there was danger, something triggered in our mind to get out of there or get ready to fight. And the thing about evolution is those that were best at that, they were the ones that survived. So now that's even a stronger evolutionary path for us as humans. So the interesting thing, I remember reading this about this and explaining this fight or flight evolutionary process and now how it affects us in our more civilized world, is when we put ourselves at risk, when we go and take a risk in our lives, in our business, then our mind goes to all the what ifs, something goes bad. And you basically start talking yourself out of taking that risk. And then so many of us get to our final days and realize they didn't take the risks that they wanted to, and now they haven't had a fulfilling life that they wanted. So that's when I realized that, I've certainly failed in past businesses and had stumbles in the insurance world. And nothing has really hurt me as badly as I thought it would. And time passes, and with enough time, you recover.
So true. There's two things from what you just said that we will talk ourselves out of taking the risk. The 3 to 5 seconds, they say that the moment that the opportunity to take the risk is in front of you, you have 3 to 5 seconds to act before your mind will overtake and you'll say no. So it really is that take action. Yeah. I like to call it one forward step of obedience, right? It's because that way we're not super consumed with what's going to happen 5 steps ahead, 10 steps ahead. It's just one step, just take the step, just do it. And I also appreciate what you're saying about there's a phrase that I've heard a lot. It's never as bad as it seems or as good as it sounds. And that time does pass and recovery can happen. Right. And we see this over and over again, whether it's the hurricane or the tornado or, over time, people rebuild. Now, that doesn't mean that change doesn't occur, but that is incredibly important. Now, we're in this place where a lot of people are reeling about what is going on in the health insurance space. Right. I have to imagine that there's a lot of fight or flight that is occurring in people. I want you to speak to that for me.
Right. Yeah. It's really unfortunate what's happened. So let me kind of explain what happened and why even the government shutdown happened a couple of months ago. So after COVID, the previous administration with Biden's leadership, they wanted to expand the subsidies for the ACA marketplace. This allowed people who needed health insurance during that time to get health insurance, especially recovering from COVID. They quadrupled the income level that you could have and still get subsidies.
Oh, wow. That's a big jump.
That's a big jump.
Yep.
So a lot of people, I want to say it was like 10 to 15 million, jumped into the marketplace that hadn't before because they were getting very affordable plans. We can debate whether they're good coverage or not, but they were affordable. So then that wasn't meant to be permanent. That was meant to expire at the end of this year. And so without the continuation of that, then we're going back down to pre-COVID levels for what the subsidies were. And frankly, have been the subsidy levels for almost 10 years before that. So there doesn't seem to be any desire to extend those post-COVID subsidies beyond 26. So we're going to be back at those levels. So people are seeing rate increases. I've got commonly hearing 2 times, so 200% increase. I've got one client I'm meeting with this afternoon that's 300% increase. And so the other thing that's happening is those subsidies are going away. Several millions of people are exiting the marketplace.
Which impacts
the risk pool.
Yep.
So now insurance companies are stuck with having the individuals that must have insurance for health reasons in their risk pool. That's going to drive their claims. So before the rates even got finalized, they were already in the process of 25 coming up with this scenario of how rates need to be adjusted to be able to cover their 26 losses. So those two things combined, lower subsidies and higher premiums to offset the carrier's losses, have seen these increases. And I mean, the government puts such a focus on the marketplace for those that don't get it from an employer that, I mean, you see it in television ads, you see it in billboard ads, you see it in magazines ads, it's everywhere. So it puts a focus on what people believe is the only option out there, which is the government marketplace. And that's
which
not
isn't the only option. I mean, we've never used the government marketplace, but I'm with you that there's not enough education on what is available outside of that. And I'm curious, what do you believe is the reason that people aren't educated on the other options?
I once saw this infographic. I don't know how real it is, but I believe it. It basically says something like this. An individual will spend X number of minutes deciding on their health insurance. Like it's probably 15 minutes. I wish I'd have brought it up and had it in front of me. Then they'll spend X number of hours shopping for a television, big screen television. X number of days shopping for a car. And X number of weeks or months shopping for a home. So that seems flipped. I mean, I know those are big expenditures the higher you go up, but if you look at health insurance, it's not uncommon to have a $6,000 to $12,000 premium, depending on your family size, for a year. So that's still a pretty significant purchase for any family. But people don't spend the time really researching it. And I will tell you, come December 31st, 30th and 31st, I will get an unknown number of phone calls and emails from people who are last minute trying to make a decision. So that just highlights kind of the point that is in that infographic.
Wow. It's so that's interesting to think about the amount of time that we spend researching and understanding. You know, and I also wonder too, you know, I think about, for example, the understanding part, that for so many it feels, I'm not saying that it is, but it feels difficult to understand, right? There's so much convolution in what is and isn't covered, what you pay when and where, how does it work exactly? And that is, and then I also think as a culture, we often move at a fast pace on a lot of things, and we think we understand, but we don't.
Right.
So there's that challenge. Right. There's that challenge as well.
Well, you're right on. I mean, there's so many acronyms and so many terms with any kind of insurance, but health insurance especially, that if you're not in the field every day, you have no idea what they all mean.
Well, you actually do a really good job of trying to educate people, because of course I follow you on social media, and I do take time to read your post. And I'm also, when I see my friends or people that I know who are reeling over their increases or what that looks like, you know, trying to tag you as well, because of knowing that there are other options out there. Now, I want you to, so when you think about the person listening who is faced with whether it's 200 to 300% increase, I mean, that's massive. Right. What would you say is the biggest limiting belief for the person needing insurance dealing with the landscape right now? Like what is the biggest thing holding them back from taking the next step?
Right. Well, I think a couple of things. It's limiting beliefs, but it's also their experiences.
Okay.
So unfortunately, it's not just health insurance. It's home, auto, life, health. It doesn't matter. There's so many websites out there that suggest to the reader that they're going to be able to find them the best rate. And what it is really is a lead capture form that is sold to every agent that will buy it. Oh. And so I often tell people, stay away from those. Understand if you're going to put your information on a website, your name, your email address, your phone number, know exactly who is going to, and it's not going to be purchased. So a lot of people go through that experience and then get inundated with text calls and phone calls, and I'm talking about hundreds within days.
Yeah.
And it just puts them off. They're like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. So there's that experience piece, and then the limiting belief piece is what we've talked about. They believe there's nothing else out there. There's no other insurance product. Now, sharing isn't insurance, but it's a viable option for people who understand how that sharing plan works and that it's a fit for their family, because sometimes there's, religious constraints or restrictions placed on the family if it's a sharing plan affiliated with a religion.
Right.
Others aren't, but you want to make sure it's a fit for you and your family.
Yeah, it's an excellent point, because you're right. If someone believes that this is my only option, they literally can be stuck in a very difficult place, because in their mind they're trying to reconcile affordability and not having any at all because of that lack of understanding that there are other plans out there. So I know that you cannot get into too much detail. We just don't have enough time, right? But could you give a couple of examples of other options that are available for people outside of ACA? That way we can pique the interest of anyone listening to go, man, I should have a conversation with Steve.
Sure. So with the ACA, those plans can't deny coverage for any reason. So what that means, you go into the ACA, you pick your plan, you pay your premium, and regardless of pre-existing conditions or current medical issues you have, they can't deny coverage. But because of that, when it's unsubsidized, it can be pretty costly. So what these other companies do is they don't participate in the marketplace. They're underwritten plans, and all that means is the insurance company decides whether to offer the insured insurance or not. Some of them are what I call heavily underwritten. Some of them are very lightly underwritten. So it's the agent's job to find out which one might be the best fit based off of your situation.
Okay.
But because these companies don't insure unhealthy individuals, they're typically 40 to 50% less than an unsubsidized marketplace plan.
Wow.
Like, they can't compete with a $0 plan. So if you're getting a full subsidy on a marketplace plan that brings it down to $0, they can't compete with that.
Right.
But if you're in that group where you're going to be paying full price for one of those plans and you're healthy, and I'm not talking about a super fit athlete. I'm talking about no recent cancers, not type 1 diabetic, don't have a chronic condition that you face on a daily basis. Those are some of the things that will kick you out of these plans. And most families, this is an interesting stat, most families fit within that. In fact, 20% of our population accounts for 80% of all the healthcare expenditures in this country.
That's a totally different 80-20 rule. Right. Whoa. Wow. So
there's a large, vast number of people who are very healthy that can fit into these plans.
Wow. So for the person who, give us some timelines, because if someone's listening and they think, well, maybe I would want to shift or do something different, what is their time frame for taking action, and how can you assist them in that?
Well, let's assume that they're in a plan now with the marketplace in 25 that's going to expire on December 31st, 2025. Okay. And they don't want to have any lapse. They don't want something to happen on January 1 and they don't have coverage.
Correct.
So with that said, some of these plans or these underwritten plans will have a period of time where they're going to have to review your file. Typically a week to 10 days. This time of year, it could be 2 weeks because of the volume. So I would say at a minimum, you probably want to have a discussion with me by the 20th of December if you want to have anything in place by the 1st.
Okay.
Now, the great thing about these plans is you can enroll in them at any time of the year. Whereas the marketplace plans, you have to have what's called a life qualifying event. There's a list of them, but if you have a life qualifying event, then you can get into what's called special enrollment. Otherwise, you have to wait for the end of the year.
Okay.
So if you don't have one of those events happen, your next opportunity is going to be December of 26.
Wow.
But with these underwritten plans, we could...
Anytime.
And you can cancel at any time. Some people think, oh, there's going to be a penalty if I cancel. No, if you need it short term because you're in between jobs and you want to take that next employer coverage that you get, then get a short term underwritten plan and then take advantage of the next employer plan.
So something that we're seeing more, I guess, prevalent in the marketplace is direct primary care. Mm-hmm. How do you envision direct primary care working with, say, a non-ACA plan?
Yeah. So there's a couple of these non-ACA plans where that is a really good fit. There's about 3 or 4 of these plans that are what's called fixed benefit plans. And so the plan pays a fixed amount based off of the care that you receive, regardless of how much you pay for it. So with a direct primary care, you typically pay a monthly subscription to have access to the doctor.
Right.
And you might be able to have a limited number of visits or an unlimited number, depends on their subscription plan. So let's say you pay $100 a month for that, and you go see the doctor that month. Well, that $100 subscription is proof that you paid for the care, and then you got a doctor's visit, and maybe they gave you a steroid shot or something like that. So there's other level of care that they provided that now qualify you for your fixed benefit.
Okay.
So in some of these plans, that could be $200, $120 for the visit, and an $80 injection benefit.
Interesting.
And you paid $100 a month for that.
Wow. So you're paying for the direct primary care and you're paying for the fixed benefit plan, but you're saying that in a sense you can recoup some of your, if not all of your subscription amount as a result.
Right.
I love it. See, this is where I believe, to your point, that people, the biggest limiting belief is that they don't believe there to be anything else out there, that it is such it's such a substantial challenge that we are facing where people are concerned. That's why I was so excited to get you on the podcast, because I thought people need to be more educated on the options that are out there. Because truthfully, I was saying to a friend, they were just struggling with the increase that they received. And I was like, you know what? I have been so outside of that for so long. Like, I rarely have stress over the health insurance side of things, because the plan that we're on now, you did such a great job of matching us with what would work with where we are, our level of health, all of those things. I have to say, I'm so grateful, because I'm not dealing with the crazy emotional roller coaster as it is of what's happening in the health insurance space. Man, I know we'll have to have another conversation, because there's so much more that we could explore. How could people connect with you to see how you could help them?
Sure. Well, let's talk social media first. My biggest platform is Facebook. It has been such a good platform for me that I can't spend my time anywhere else, it seems. So just find me, Steve Stump, or Insure Me Steve on Facebook. Either one of those will find me. And then my website is pretty simple. It's insuremesteve.us. So insuremesteve.us. I have 2 other sites. If you want to meet with me, it's just meetmesteve.us.
I love that.
So meetmesteve.us. And if you want a quote from me, it's just quotemesteve.us.
So smart, Steve. So smart.
So I keep it, what is this? Keep it simple, stupid? Yeah,
yes. Well, it does make a difference when you keep it simple, because people can remember it better. And all of that detail that Steve just gave us will exist in the show notes as well. So you can just look at the show notes to get that information also. So if you had to directly challenge the listener, what would you say is the most important thing they take action on?
Yeah. I would say the most important thing is be an engaged consumer in your health insurance and healthcare. Going back to that analogy of the time spent shopping for a television, a car, and a home, the amount of time you are an engaged consumer is exponentially more than when it comes to your health insurance. And then you talk about healthcare, and you start to realize that one of the reasons why so many doctors go into direct primary care is they don't have to have back office staff to file claims. They don't have to tie up their money with the insurance companies that take 30 to 45 days to pay their claims.
Yep.
And so once you realize that for the doctors, it's just a business decision to either take a cash rate or file your claim, you can often realize that you can get pretty affordable health care and still just be a cash patient.
Yeah.
So again, being an engaged consumer in your health care and your health insurance is the number one thing I think people can do.
That's really, really important. And also speaks to the difference between what I would call the entrepreneurial approach versus the managed care approach, and how much, I'm going to say, freedom and flexibility that having that aspect, that availability of it, where that is concerned. Man, I love it. So I ask every single guest, because I think, we've talked a lot about and focused primarily on the insurance space, and you've hit on a couple of different aspects of thinking, but I do ask every single guest, why do you believe it's important to cultivate thinking that matters? What say you, Mr. Steve Stump?
Oh, let's see. Certainly my belief that nothing can hurt you as badly as a mind will make you think it. If you have that kind of mindset, then when those negative thoughts pop up, and they will, to your analogy of take those steps forward, but what happens if you trip? Immediately negative thoughts again. So you can constantly be able to recognize those and immediately squash them and realize it's just your body's defense mechanism. But in addition to that, this quote, I can't remember who said it, but he was asked, like, what do you think the purpose of life is? And it caught my attention. Like, okay, cool. Finally someone solved it, right? So I listened to him, and I wish I remember who the speaker was. And he said, the purpose of life is simply to enjoy the passage of time. And so when you think about that, and why does it matter? Why does your thinking matter? If we're all here with the same allocated amount of time in a day to just enjoy the passage of time, then wouldn't you rather enjoy that and not be stressed and battling your own internal thoughts on a daily basis, distracting you from the events that are going around you, the events that are going on in your family, and the individuals that are important to you? So that's why I think what you think between the years matters. So important.
It's so true. We get to pick the path, right? We can pick the path of actively engaging in high stress, fight or flight all the time, or choosing how can we control that thinking, manage that thinking, cultivate better thinking so that we can enjoy the passage of time, to use your words. I love it. Thank you so much, Steve, for saying yes and for sharing your wisdom. Be sure to check out the information in the show notes for how you can contact Steve to learn more. And remember, like and subscribe to the podcast. Be sure to leave us a review. That's how we get better coverage and we get to expand our reach. And I appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to check out the next episode of Thinking That Matters.